All right, welcome to Couch Conversation number 5. My name's Patton, and we're gonna start this thing off.
I'm Bryant.
I'm Keith.
What's up? It's John.
Hi, I'm Maggie.
I'm Will.
So for this couch conversation, obviously the topic's theater. We're going to start off, a lot of us read the article, Live Theater, Do We Need It? I know it's probably the most, well absorbed article. So personally, I want to ask you guys, what's your thought about it? Before I read that about the live theater, I wasn't really a fan. Like, I was like, why do we need live theater? It's already in movies and stuff. What were your guys' opinion on that?
I was kind of opinion. But yeah, when I read it, I think the author's name, Lamouth, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but she stated how like human beings are storytellers and how we learn from the stories about what it means to be human and how like we learn to value, how to love and all that. And I can kind of seeing that as to being true, as like when you watch a movie or something, you can like kind of learn from the values in the movie. And I think, or like the same thing with live theater, right? I think live, like the emotions are more there.
I agree with that, especially the storytelling part and how we could also learn from it live. Sometimes it sticks a little bit stronger if you see it live, I think. Than like
exactly.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it too. Like at first, like I wasn't really like not a fan, but like I just didn't really like, quite frankly, like care, I guess. But as I've like grown up and seen like more plays and stuff, especially now with COVID and stuff, I think that it's like really important to make sure like you can see them, because it just helps everyone, like you're like united in it and like you're all watching the same thing and like feeling the same emotion and watching like the story go on. And I just like, I think it's really cool, and like can like teach people a lot, and especially like the like people who are playing the actors and stuff, like they have to like learn how to have like put themselves in like someone else's shoes to like portray different characters. And I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, and to kind of relate that to what one of the Jams interview guests said, Talia, she was talking about how in COVID right now, there's like a hole for group gathering and people to getting together. She kind of thinks theater is like kind of the answer to that. What else did you guys think about the article, if we needed it?
Go for it.
I was just gonna say, I'm not a big theater person. I never really went to shows or anything, and I still, like, after reading that, I still don't think that I'm gonna like go out and just watch a show. But I guess it did make me appreciate it a little more and understand like what it's done for society and everything. Because when you think about it, it's really different from a movie, because that moment is kind of shared between the audience and the cast. It's very different. When you're watching a movie, it's just the people in the audience just watching a screen, not really sharing anything with the people on stage.
Yeah, and to go off of Brian there, I'm not a big theater person either. So it's just reading all these articles has made me appreciate performances and plays in theater in like a different way. I didn't think of it as much as an art form as much as like entertainment as it did before. Like when you go see a theater, there's live music, there's costumes, actors, directors, and when you go watch a movie, you're in a silent room in front of a screen, and you can share that experience with the people around you after the play and talk about it. I mean, you can in a movie theater, but it's not really the same. And like in a performance, you can't rewind it. You have to go, if you miss something, you have to go see it again. Whereas like a movie, you can try to rewind it, see the thing you missed, and continue on.
Yeah, the author kind of explained it almost like a multi-dimensional experience, because everything that's going into it with the lights, the actors, if it has music in it, everything behind stage. And I know you wrote some about Patton, how another interesting about live theater in particular is it's a different organic experience every time.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's never going to be the same thing. Some people will make slight changes. Even like with storytelling, the author said that the stories will change every time. No stories are retold the same way. So yeah, it is a different experience every time.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the author's point, how humans are storytellers, and how
Exactly.
every time it tweaks a little bit, and you kind of get your own perspective and your own opinion on it. And also, I liked when they're talking about it's also a lot between live theater has to do between the audience and the actors. There's kind of a relationship there where the audience has to show respect and the actors kind of have to show empathy in order to perform up there. It's not an easy task because they kind of have to disconnect kind of and become that character. So I found that.
Yeah, and I mean to keep going off of that, it's like when you're in like comparing it to a movie, the movie is recorded once and then everyone views it. But with live theater, everyone's there experiencing it, and there can be human error, although they practice so there isn't. But those small moments, they can't be replicated perfectly every single time when you go to the theater. That's what makes it like a lot different to go to. Like I wasn't ever a really big fan of theater, but I've been to a few, and like seeing one from like at home compared to in person, they're not even close to the same. Because if someone's at home, they can have a completely different experience at their house compared to actually being there, connecting with the people around them.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I'm personally still not gonna be like crazy. I want to go out and see a theater, but I could definitely respect it. I kind of like a gateway into James Part One. In particular, I know Professor Mancini was talking about how he personally is not the biggest fan of theater, musical theater in particular, because he was saying how the music and stuff doesn't go together. I kind of get that too. I know Pat and you were kind of talking about earlier how he was a fan of different theatrical performances though, like WWE, I think you said.
Yeah. To kind of go off of like what we were saying about it being like movies are just shot in sequence and stuff. Actors and directors have to, hone their craftsmanship and build off of, something. You got to learn how to act and direct. So they go to school for that. And most actors and directors start in the theater. Like Dwayne the Rock Johnson. He started his career in WWE, and now he's like one of the top paid actors alive today. Just pretty crazy.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty interesting how they brought up that the WWE is really like a theater, because you don't really think of it as that, but it really is, because there's people putting on a performance to an audience. It's to a live audience, and I thought it was really interesting how they brought that up. And then back to what Professor Mancini said about musical theater, I kind of agreed with him a lot, just saying that like sometimes when you add that musical aspect to it, it can almost make it seem not real. And that's just kind of how my opinion is. I don't know how you guys are. I was just going to see what maybe you thought of it.
No, I agree with that one too. And I think Professor Wilson stated it right when she said like there's a time and place for musical elements in the story, right? So like they're just like thrown in there like just whenever, just for the point of making a musical. Then of course it's gonna make the theater awkward. But if like if it's written into the story and executed properly, then I think like it's great. I enjoy musicals.
Yeah, that's a good point. If it's in there properly, she was mentioning, like she was talking about how when she saw Rent, the theater, and how the music in there, everyone was singing it, and like the music was almost a gateway to talk about uncomfortable things that were happening, like in society. Like it was not like I don't know, it was kind of an uncomfortable topic to talk about HIV in the gay community, and Rent kind of did that comfortably through music. And I think it kind of like flowed, and she said how much she enjoyed it and remembered the music. I think that goes for a lot of theater too. If it has certain music or things that go with it. Arl even mentioned how like it kind of can stick with you, musical theater, and kind of create memories. Like I still remember in elementary school going to see a play, and like just because I don't know, it kind of sticks with you just hearing the music and then watching it. And I don't remember movies I saw in elementary school, but I do remember that.
Yeah, I feel like when there's a song that you like can remember, that it helps a lot of people go back to those moments, even though they might not remember exactly what was happening. They can remember the song, and then that can help them connect back to what they've experienced live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that's so true. Like think about it. Like when you're in elementary school or whatever, or preschool, when you learn the ABCs, you learn it like in the song form, right? So like having a song kind of help you. It's kind of like a mnemonic device, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of remember the play more.
Yeah, I remember reading in the Theater and Performance Society article, and one of the guests were just like the kind of general consensus where people were talking about, the question was, what is the link between theater and music? and they were just talking about how music heightens the emotional experience of an audience, which I
All
think
right.
is why it sticks so much with us. So yeah, and then I know in James part 2, one of the guests was Talia, the Broadway performer. What do you guys think of James part 2? Do you guys have anything that's interesting to say on that?
Yeah. I thought it was pretty interesting when Tala, she gave us her background, like on the play. She's on the Be More show, and how it like came to be. It was, um, I think it was like a novel at first, and then it turned into a performance. But the critics like shot it down immediately and didn't really get anywhere, and just kind of sat dormant for a couple of years until some teenagers found the album and kind of revamped it through social media. And now they're touring, or they were touring before COVID came. And I thought that was pretty cool. Just and then toward the end, Professor Mancini asked Talia a question about how she handles critics and reviews she gets on social media. And she says she doesn't look at them because they can be harmful and just deteriorating to your mental stability. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's really interesting how social media plays a part in theater. You don't really think it would, but even for like certain things in plays that have an effect, like I know one of us were talking about the castings. That could be a big issue, when it comes to social media. People could have a big backlash on that.
Yeah, that is a good point, especially with social media, how much it influences nowadays. Like, if you look at it historically, like social media wasn't a huge influence, but now it could either save something or destroy it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, do you want
I feel like Dr. Bacalzo brought it up when he was bringing up like his experience with cross casting, which is like something that, like, especially recently in like our society has been a big issue. Like when people have been coming out with like blackface and stuff like that, because they want to keep everything historically accurate, but then they feel like they're only picking certain actors because of their race. And especially with social media, that causes a lot of issues because there will be the people who want it to keep it completely authentic, and then the people who don't want it to be authentic because they think that they're only picking them purely based off of their race. So I feel like social media, even though it's not like connected because it's supposed to be like live theater, it still plays a massive role in it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? I mean, because I think like if plays are like assimilated from real stories, they should try to keep the integrity of the story, like the emotions of it. So what do you guys think of like all that, like changing the elements of a play taken from a real story?
Yeah, that is a good point. I think now it's just like a lot of trying to update it to please the crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right with that too. Yeah.
It's just it's just kind of changing, which I guess could be a benefit of theater, right? Is it could stay with the times. It's not like a movie that's once it's done, it's done. Theater can kind of change with the times, and you know what I mean?
Right.
What's in.
Yeah, it's definitely a really tough subject because you do when you're doing a historical piece, you want to really portray what happened, but then when you look at where you're presenting that piece, you got to make sure that it accommodates for the audience, so you got to make sure that everyone's comfortable in performing and in watching the show. So I guess it's really difficult to find that middle point, making sure that you're keeping the integrity of what you're trying to perform, and also making it a comfortable situation for everyone.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're right. There is a middle point, and a lot of this, it is a business, which like I feel like the theater business side isn't talked about a lot, but it is a business, and based on their performance and their ratings is how much these people are going to get paid. I also, and back to part 2, I also wanted to mention how one thing I found very interesting was Talia. She mentioned that in theater, there's like people kind of just see it as like, okay, there's you're either an actor or maybe you're a stagehand or you do lights. But there's just so many other jobs in that, which I think is pretty important. Like she was talking about how there's the makeup artists, the choreographers, social media managers, carpenters, a lot of people who just work really fast, social media managers. And I think it's still growing. So that's definitely cool to see.
Yeah, that kind of relates to like business being I mean theater being a business because there's so many like jobs that go into it. I think let me see. It's just like it makes up arts and culture, all that like theater make up like 3.2% of US GDP. I thought it was a pretty big number. So
yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. This was our couch conversation 5 on theater.
Awesome.
Mhm.
See you.
awesome.